Good afternoon, students. Welcome back the history class. In previous class we have discussed about the contribution of the Greek civilization. You know very well the Greeks were great contributor to in the ancient world. In ancient period, the Greek people the great contribution to the art, architecture, literature, ethics, history, medicine, science, mathematics, etc. So you know, in the literature, the Greek civilization given the great contribution to the literature because many poets lived in the Greek civilization and poetry and many dramas developed in the ancient period. So in Greek civilization many poets lived like Homer. Homer was a great poet in the Greek civilization. He wrote many works. In important his works like Iliad and Odyssey. You know, Iliad and Odyssey is considered as the epic of Greeks. So Homer wrote two epics, Iliad and Odyssey. And in the Greek civilization, many tragedians lived like Aeschylus, Sophocles and Euripides. You know very well about Aeschylus. Aeschylus was a great tragedian in the Greek civilization. He wrote many dramas like his famous dramas like Prometheus and Agamemnon. In the same way, Sophocles was also a great tragedian. He wrote many dramas also. So his great dramas like Aeschylus Lakes, Electra, Antigone, and third tragedian in the Greek civilization, Euripides. Euripides also wrote many dramas. His great drama Trojan Woman. And then the Greek people give the great contribution to the history also. So here you very well know in the began the systematic study history. So Greeks began in ancient period, the Greeks began the systematic study of history. In the Greeks, Herodotus was a great historian. He started systematic study the history. So that reason Herodotus is regarded as father of history. In the Greek civilization, three great historians lived in ancient period like Herodotus, Thucydides and Plato. Herodotus is regarded as the father of history, and then a second great historian of Greek civilization, Thucydides. So Thucydides wrote the great work of Thucydides, Peloponnesian War. So you know about in the Greek civilization many important 5 cities are there: Sparta, Athens, Corinthian, Macedonia and Thebes. So Athens was a developed city in the Greek civilization, and then Sparta also changes democracy and changes ruling and soldier administration applied in the Sparta. That time Sparta attacked on the Athens So that battle, so called in the history Peloponnesian War. So Thucydides wrote or Thucydides explained the Peloponnesian War, how was happened between the Sparta and Athens. So in the Peloponnesian War, how was defeated the Athens by the Sparta, and how was the democracy decline of Athens in the Peloponnesian War. So all concepts include in the work of Thucydides, the Peloponnesian War. Okay, and then another great historian, who is Plutarch. So Plutarch also, he was a great historian in the Greek civilization. So you very well know Pericles' age produced the great and popular persons. So Plutarch also lived in the Pericles' age. He wrote his biography, Lives Illustrious Man. And then the Greeks given the great contribution to the science also. In the Greece, many great scientists lived, like Ptolemy, Architect, Theometus, and Pythagoras and Euclid also lived in the Greek civilization. The Ptolemy produced Earth Universal Theory. According to the Earth Universal Theory or Ptolemy, Earth is not planet. Earth is the center of the other or another planet. Sun also a planet. Sun and other planet rotated around the Earth. According to the Ptolemy, Earth is not a planet. So Sun is also planet, and other planet and Sun rotate around the Earth. But Ptolemy's theory is wrong. And then a great scientist, Archinas, invention about planet. That time Archinas produced solar system theory. According to the Archinas, Sun is not planet. Sun is a center of the solar system. Earth is a planet. Earth and another planet rotate around the Sun. Not Earth. According to the Ptolemy, Earth was a center of the another planet. According to the Archinas, Sun is the center of the another planet. Okay, and then Martinus, he began a measurement of Earth, measure the Earth, his measurement and new scientist measurement. Few difference, only 320 kilometers difference between the Archinas and another new scientist. Okay, and then Greeks given the great contribution mathematics also. Euripides, Euclid and Pythagoras theories we are studied in the maths. So Pythagoras and Euclid were also lived in the Greek civilization. And then the great contribution to the Greeks to art and architecture also. Greeks produced art and architecture in three styles: Doric, Ionic and Antigone. In three styles, the Greeks built a famous temple like Parthenon temple. So you know who was built and where? Yes, Pericles was built in the Athens. So Parthenon temple have the statue of goddess Athena. Statue of goddess Athena carved by the Phidias. You know who was Phidias? Yes, Phidias was great and popular sculptor of Greek civilization. So Maron and Phidias were great sculptors of Greek civilization. The temple of Parthenon, sculptor Actinas. Actinas was a sculptor of Parthenon temple. Totally 3 sculptors came in the Greek civilization: Actinas, Maron and Phidias. So Parthenon temple have the 46 columns, each column 34 feet high. So these all points considered as a contribution of Greek civilization to the society and to the world. So another most important contribution of the Greek civilization, Gandhara art. So Gandhara art is the most popular in the India. Greeks were produced and Greeks were introduced the Gandhara art to the Indians. So it is also great contribution of Greek civilization. So these all points already we have discussed in the previous class. In class we will discuss about philosophy. So you know Greek civilization people great contributors. That people contribution to the art, architecture, science, history, mathematics and philosophy also. Because many most popular philosophers lived in the Greek civilization. You know, in the 2 countries introduced the great philosophy to the world. First, China and Greek. You know, in the Chinese civilization, many most popular philosophers lived like Lao Tse, Confucius and Mencius. So that philosophers also given their principles to the society and world and introduced the philosophy. So Lao Tse, Mencius and Confucius were also great popular philosophers of the China civilization. The same thing, Greek civilization also have the great philosophers like Socrates, Plato and Aristotle. So here the philosophy, this word English, the philosophy word derived from the Greek word philosophia. Philosophia means love of wisdom. Philosophia means love of wisdom. Philosophy explain the word. Greek's noun philosophy explain about origin of the word and structure. The Greek civilization have the most popular philosophers. In the Greek civilization, many schools philosophies there, like Dramatis. Dramatis was the earliest philosopher of Greek civilization. He refused, Dramatis refused spiritual world or of the soul also. Demagogue refused spiritual word or of the soul also. In the Greek civilization, many popular philosophers are there like Socrates, Plato and Aristotle. So let us study about the philosophers one by one. Okay, first one, Socrates. Socrates lived in 469 to 399 BC in the Greece. He was a great philosopher. Socrates believed knowledge leads that right conduct and happiness, and ignores always produce evil. So Socrates believed that knowledge, right conduct and happiness, but ignorance always produce evil. So Socrates was the wisest of the wise man in the Greek civilization. He have many students. Socrates taught their principles to their students. That time, any students have doubt, that time Socrates clear his students' doubts by asking questions and discuss with them. So, any students of Socrates, any students have any doubts, that time Socrates asking some questions and discuss with them. So this way Socrates clear the students' doubt. This way the Socrates clear his students' doubt. Okay. Here Socrates encouraged youth. Socrates always encouraged youth and introduced new gods. That time, day by day, Socrates was popular. Many officers and kings have jealousy about Socrates. That time, many officers complained on the Socrates to the king. So according to the officers, Socrates' teaching has considered immoral teaching. The officers in the Greek, many officers have the jealousy about the Socrates. That officers consider the Socrates' teaching was immoral teaching. So he produced corrupt in the society. He corrupt of the officially of the Athens. So that reason all officers and king forced to drink the poison hemlock. That time the officers forced the Socrates to drink the poison hemlock. So here that time the Socrates drank the poison hemlock and died in the 399 BCE. Hemlock is the name of the poison. So this poison drunk the Socrates and died in 399 BCE. So this way the great philosopher lost in the Greek civilization. And then another great popular philosopher, Plato. So Plato lived in 427 to 347 BCE. Plato was a notable student. Plato, the student of Socrates. So Plato built a academy in Athens, He wrote many works, example, the dialogues, the Republic, the laws. The dialogues work include the teaching of his master. Who was his master? Yes, Socrates. The Plato, student of the Socrates. So, in the dialogues, Plato wrote about teaching of the Socrates. The dialogue work include the teaching of Socrates, or the dialogue work include or contained the teaching of his master. And then Plato, in the Republic work, the Plato divided the society into the three parts or three classes. According to the Plato, Greek society divided into three parts. First one, last class, middle class, and first class. Last class include farmers, artisans, and merchants. And middle class have soldiers. And then first class have philosophers. According to the Plato, philosophers lived in the first class. They have all political power and basic facilities also. So here in the first class, farmers, artisans and merchants were lived. That people not have any facilities and not have any political powers. So that people lived in the last class. And then middle class, soldiers lived in the middle class, and first class, philosophers were lived in the first class. Philosophers have all political powers and basic facilities. Here the Republic is the most important work of Plato. And another work of Plato, the laws written by the Plato. So here the Plato have dreamed, established the good state or ideal state. So you study about Plato in the political science very deep, very depth, because in the political science, Plato's state theory here, Plato tried established ideal state, ideal empire. So this is also information about Plato. Plato was most popular philosopher in the Greek civilization. He built an academy in the Athens. So in the academy, many students learn the teaching of Socrates. Plato teached the teachings. Plato teached the Socrates teaching in the academy to his students. So many students learnt Socrates teaching by the Plato. Okay. So here Plato wrote many works. His important was the dialogues, the republic and the laws. Okay. And next another philosopher of the Greek civilization, Aristotle. So Aristotle was the great philosopher in the Greek civilization and great person also. He studied many subjects. Aristotle have most good knowledge about various subjects. So that reason Aristotle regarded as father of biology, father of political science and father of philosophy, because Aristotle have good knowledge of various subjects. He began the natural science, study of natural science. So this way Aristotle also a great philosopher in the Greek civilization. Aristotle was the student of Plato. So what a nice things. Plato was the student of Socrates and Aristotle was the student of Plato, and Alexander was also the student of Aristotle. It means the Aristotle, student of the Plato and teacher of the Alexander. So here the Aristotle was a great philosopher in the Greek civilization. So Aristotle taught his principles to his students. He was a philosopher and scientist, and he wrote many books. And he studied many subjects also. So Aristotle said the man social animal, because the man cannot live in the society lonely. The man lived with his family. The man lived with a group in the society. So that reason the man cannot live in the society lonely. So that reason Aristotle said the man is a social animal. So he was also wrote many works. His great works like the Politics and History of Animals. So both great works of Aristotle. So Aristotle given the principle to the Greek civilization and to the world also, the sound mind in the sound body. So this principle given by the Aristotle. So Aristotle also encouraged to the Greek people. So he guidance always youths. So that reason, so Aristotle was a great philosopher. So this way Greek civilization great contribution to the world philosophy also, because many most popular philosophers lived in the Greek civilization, like Socrates, Plato and Aristotle. So these philosophers given the most wonderful principles to the society. So that reason philosophy also great contribution by the Greek civilization. And next one we go to the study about religion. Here the Greek people or Greeks not worshipped any gods. Greeks quite different those people or those another people, because Greeks were not worshipped any god and goddess, but Greeks believed in the Olympias god. In the Greek civilization, 12 Olympic gods are there. 12 Olympic gods were there. So these Olympus gods lived in the Olympus mountain or mountain Olympia. So here in the 12 Olympia gods, in the most important gods like Zeus and Apollo and Athena. In the 12 Olympia gods are the most important and most popular gods like Zeus, Apollo and Athena. Zeus was master of Olympic god and father. Master of Olympia gods or father. And Apollo, son of Zeus, and Athena, protectors of city. You know, in the Greek civilization 5 cities are there: Sparta, Athens, Macedonia, Corinth and Thebes. Okay, so Athena goddess, protectors of city. So here in the 12 Olympias, most popular gods Zeus, Apollo and Athena. Zeus was the master of Olympia gods and father, and Apollo, son of Zeus, and Athena, protectors of city. These all Olympia gods lived in mountain Olympia. So Greeks believed that all Olympia gods visited on earth. So few days and any time. So all Olympia gods visited on the earth. The Greeks people or Greeks believed that the all Olympia gods came on the earth sometimes. Okay, Greeks celebrated Olympia festival in 776 BCE to honor of the Zeus. Greeks celebrated Olympia festival in 776 BCE to honor to the Zeus. So next we will study about the Olympics. The Olympics games held in 776 BCE by Greece. 776 BCE by Greece. The Greece started Olympics game in 776 BCE to the honor of Zeus. So later Greeks started Olympics game in 776, and later the Olympics games held in every 4 years. So here the Olympics game held in every 4 years. It means the Greeks started Olympic Games in 776 BCE and later the Greeks held in the Olympics Games in every 4 years one time or once every 4 years. Okay, so here the people game formed over the people came from over and Greece and include have gathered the place of open air theatres, and Greece people enjoyed reading poetry and conduct different games like running and jumping, discus throw and javelin throws, etc. So who was won in the Olympic Games, that people or winners were considered alive crowns. Alive crowns. So here in the Olympic game, marathon game is very famous. So what is meant by marathon game and why the Greeks include this game in the Olympic Games? So here Marathon is the name of the battle. Marathon battle happened between the Marathon battle happened between the Athens and Persians. You know, Persians were attacked on the again and again on the Athens. That time Athens or Greeks consider Persians were common enemies. That time Athenians attack on the Persians. So that battle called in the history Marathon battle. In the Marathon battle, Athens have victory. That time Peloponnesians, that time Philippides king ruled in the Athens. The king Philippides sent a soldier to the Athens and informed the victory to the Athens people. That time the soldier ran 42.2 kilometers without any rest and break. When the Athenians won in the marathon battle, that time the king Philippides sent a soldier for inform the victory. That time the soldier ran continuously 42.2 kilometers without any rest and break. The soldier reached Athens and informed to the all Athenians about victory in the marathon battle, and suddenly the soldier fell down and died. So this event, remember, the Greeks include marathon race in the Olympics Games. So this way, in the Olympics Games, marathon race or marathon running was the most important game. Okay, so these all points learn about the Olympics and marathon game. So I hope you understood clear about the philosophy of Greeks and the religion of Greeks and Olympic and marathon game. Are you understood? Okay. Thank you. In next class, we will discuss about next civilization or next chapter, Roman civilization. Okay. Thank you.